I'm just trying to record a video. I'm already crying. Hey you guys, well I am recording Vlogmas day 2 from my car, and honestly guys, this was something I really didn't plan to talk about, but I realized it blessed a lot of women on my ministry this week, and I want to make a video out of it. And I sent out an email. If you're not on my email list for my ministry, get in the description box below, sign up. I send out weekly devotionals, and I also send out random words that the Lord gives me, okay? And one thing about it is I sent out an email this week about the pain of change. And this right here blessed a lot of women. And so I know I want to, because it's from my heart, okay? And I want to share this with you because, guys, so much has changed. And I want to tell you, the pain of change is real, okay? When God calls you to take the leap and do the faith and walk in faith, you might think it looks beautiful on the gram, but the reality of it, y'all, let me show you what it looks like, okay? Let me put the clips in here to show you what it really looks like when you take a leap of faith and you're scared and you don't know what the other side holds. Okay, y'all, I just got in and cried my eyes out. Leaving my old office, my first ever started closet office. It was hard. Shout out to my friends that came and prayed. I appreciate it. I'm gonna leave the bank keys in there. Bye, old office. I love you. I gotta say bye. A lot has changed here, and we got a new one. This was the hardest part. The hardest part is letting go, right? The hardest part is letting go. Oh, Jesus, give me strength. Give me strength. You can have all this world, but give me Jesus. And when I am alone, welcome to His Daughter's Closet Ministries. So here recently, I cried my eyes out. I cried my eyes out because I was getting ready to embark on a chapter with the Lord in a way I didn't think He was going to make me do, okay? So July 31st, I packed up my old apartment. I packed up my little bitty apartment in the city, and I moved on faith back to the country, while keeping my office in the comfortable place, which was Tulsa, because I believed I was going to travel back every week and go back, record my content in ministry, but I was going to get to come back here as well and do what I had to do. So even though I packed up my little apartment, I still had a piece of Tulsa because I was going back to my office. And then in September, God started to deal with me on moving my office. And you guys, I fought this. I fought this because I fought the words of the Lord. The Lord told me to move. The Lord told me that He told me 4 years prior, hey, you're struggling right now, but I want you to move to the city. I want you to go back to school and get your bachelor's. I want you to go into a master's program, and I'm going to take your ministry to new levels. He told me this when my ministry was barely anything, when I didn't even have a bachelor's, when I had no money, when I was living with my parents. I didn't even have a job at the time when He gave me this word. And so you know what I began? I started to work. A year later, I moved to that city. A year later, I was in school. 2 years later, I finished that degree. Or a year and a half later, I finished that degree. 2.5 years later, I got into the master's program. And all in the process, my ministry was going to new heights and it was soaring. So I want to tell you, I was like, no, God, I'm not leaving that place because you did so much to me in that place. You gave me the word to be in that place. I'm not leaving because you told me to go there, and everything you said that was going to happen is happening, right? And so what happened is now God is dealing with me on going to another place. Although the last word He gave me was in that place, but now He's giving me a new word to go to a place that looks desolate, to go to a place that I grew up in, to go to a place that it's my old stomping grounds, to go to a place where I might not technically be looked at the same because of what I used to do and what I used to be a part of back in the day. So I just want to say all that because God has been He called me out. He called me out, okay? And I want to tell you, it's been one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my ministry. The hardest thing was shutting the doors to my ministry in Tulsa when I know God gave me the word to move there in the first place. The hardest thing was shutting the doors because God gave me another word to bring it here. The hardest thing was doing that. And I want to say is, I put those clips in this video because the reality is I want you to see the truth of obedience. You don't want to go sometimes because the last season was so beautiful. And you don't want to let that thing go. The last season, the last thing was so good. The comfort zone was so comfortable. You don't want to let that go, but you have to know that the very thing you've been praying for and the very thing God wants to bless you with is on the other side of your fears. Because you know what, when I was moving, I said, okay, God, I will move, but please, my biggest fear is that I will have to put stuff in storage. My biggest fear is that I won't have a ministry no more. My biggest fear is that something will happen and I have to move my office. So God, I will move, but please don't let these big fears happen. The big fears happen. Just last week, I was putting everything in storage for my old office. So many fears have happened and I want to tell you is that the enemy brings us fears to think that's the worst thing, but he didn't show me that, oh, you're putting stuff in storage because your new office isn't prepared yet. Your bigger office is not ready yet. But that's why you had to put stuff in storage. See, oh, you had to walk out and you had to shut the door. I know that was the hardest part, but you know, the enemy don't show you the other doors that are opening outside of that. All he shows you is that scary moment when you got to shut the lights and turn the lights down and close the door and not look back, right? Those moments are hard, but he doesn't show you what's on the other side where the open doors. Now you have the space and the capacity to go to new places. I want to tell you something. The last day I spent in my office, I had a lot of these dresses. It was my last day by myself. And these dresses have sat on this rack for a long time. That day, the rack broke. The rack broke. Nothing new was all like, it was that, them things been on that rack for about a year now. But the rack broke, you guys. And so quick, the Lord said, this place cannot carry what you have anymore. It can't carry the weight of your gift. It can't carry the weight of where I'm taking you. It can't carry the weight of your anointing. So Morgan, you can stay here another 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, but it can't carry what I have put inside of you. It can't carry the weight anymore. And you see what I'm saying is I wanted to stay in the same office with the same chair and the same best friend assistant. And I wanted to keep the same schedule and go to the same spot and walk my dog at the same place and live in the same apartment and have the same routine. I wanted to keep my comfort, but I want to tell you, there is the reality of pain and change is because God is changing your reality. He took me from living in Tulsa, being the young single woman, going hard, have an office up the street, to now it's totally different. He has truly changed my reality. And I want to tell you today that changing your reality is when you are obedient to the Lord, you trust him, even when you don't want to trust him, okay? That don't mean you don't doubt him, sis, okay? Because I had doubted the Lord. Trust me. In these moments, I have questioned him like, hold on, Lord, did you really tell me to move here? Did you really tell me to do, like, I know you confirmed it, but can you confirm something again, Jesus? Because I'm scared, right? I want to tell you, this journey has been scary, sis. It's been very scary for me. So scary for me. But right now, I want to tell you that there are some places God is calling you to, because if you stay there any longer, it can't hold you no more. You've outgrown a certain space. Like the reality is that office I was in, we were outgrowing it. It couldn't hold the anointing. Also, that season I was in of that place, God said you outgrew this as well. There were certain things that couldn't hold me no more, okay? And I want to tell you that today because I know walking in faith looks like cute. Oh yeah, I'm Morgan Great, another devotional on walking in faith. But the reality, y'all, this mug is hard. I cried so hard. I remember I was trying to eat dinner and I'm in the car still crying because I'm walking away from a word God gave me that I seen come to pass, but also a word I wanted to stay in. Sometimes we got to realize that the word God gives us, once he does it, we got to go in victory. We got to move forward. And the reality is I didn't want to leave the word. You gave me this beautiful word. You're doing these beautiful things, but I'm still holding on to that word, but you're giving me a new word. And this one don't make sense. And this one requires faith. And this one requires me changing up my whole lifestyle. This one requires me living back with my mama. This one requires me, doing things unorthodox. But this one, it's got something good. This one is outside of my comfort zone. This one requires faith. This one is shifting up my life, okay? So I want to tell you that today. I want you to get to a place where you're so open and willing to walk with the Lord, because this was hard. This, guys, is the walk of faith. It's the adventure of faith. And I just wanted to show you guys the reality. I know you might see the intro when me in the office and the new office being built and I'm excited and I'm happy. But I also got to show you the other part where I had to close a door to walk into a new door. I want to show you the pain of change. That when you have to say goodbye to an old season or an old reality, that it's hard. But the hardest part is letting go. And I wanted to share that with you guys because I shared that with my ministry. And so many women were like, oh my gosh, this blessed them so much. And I want to encourage you, don't run from the pain of change. Like, change is going to come and there's going to be some pain with it sometimes, but don't run from it. Because I want to tell you, even in that time where I'm crying, I can't even walk out the door yet. I can't even turn the lights off yet because I just don't want to let this thing go for nothing. Even in that moment, God is still good because he already knew, Morgan, when you shut this door, there's another door on the other side that you're going to walk through that no man can shut. Okay. So Morgan, when you get the faith enough to walk out this door, you can finally walk into the other door that I have for you. But you got to have the faith to get out of this door. You got to get the faith to get out of this place, out of this zone. Okay. And I want to share that with you guys because this was the hardest thing I've ever done in my ministry. Like, I was broken, and my friends, the people who were helping me pack, the packing crew, aka my friends, like my best friend, another friend was there, and they watched me break, like literally on the floor. I broke because I was trying to be strong. I broke to the Lord the night before, and the Lord told me, I got you, I'm with you. But when I walked in there, and when it was finally time, when everything was out, and when I realized that, hey, my life here in this city is done, it's time to go to another city where the Lord has called me. And even though I don't fully want to go, but I know he has called me there, and I know I've got to be obedient to his call. When I had that realization that, hey, everything is out of the office, like, it's time to go, and you can't look back. You can't look back. And like, that was the part I broke. I broke in front of everybody. I was on my knees. I was crying, just broken because there was nothing wanted to leave. But also too, I know that your time is up there. Hey, you completed the mission. Go forward into your next mission, But I want to encourage you guys today that there are going to be things we have to do and walk in faith. And walk in faith is sometimes hands lifted high. It's smiling, but sometimes it's a broken place where you have to realize, God, you gonna have to walk me out of here. And I had to ask the Lord, you gonna have to get me out of this office. Like, you gonna have to walk me out of here because I'm not strong enough right now. And I'm so grateful he brought women and friends around that prayed over me. We prayed. We talked about what we did in that place and what God did through us in that place. And then I was able to get the strength to pray as well and then go. But I just want to tell you right now, like, this has been such a season where God has shifted me. And I want to say the Christian faith is a lot of, and I heard a pastor say this before, the Christian faith is a lot of hills and valleys. But if you're no longer willing to go forward in faith, you don't go forward. And I knew that. And I knew that this was requiring faith out of me that I didn't want to use. I'm like, nah. But the reality is, if you do not go forward in faith, you don't go forward. And so I had to choose to go forward in faith so that my ministry, so my life, everything else that God has for me, I can go forward into those things. And so I just share that with you today. If you come to a place where you can't go forward in faith, you have come to the end of where God is trying to take you. You just going to stand there. You're going to stay there for another year. And that's what the Lord kept saying, Morgan, you can stay here. You can keep the same office. You can stay in the same place. But you got to understand, you're just going to keep pushing yourself back. You can stay here for another year. Like, hey, you're signing the lease real quick. I know you want to. Like, you can stay here for another year. But the moment you're not willing to go forward in faith, you're come to the end of where I'm trying to take you. You come to the end. You put us on hold. You put us on a pause. So one thing I want to tell you is, when you find yourself not going forward in faith, you check that. Say, no, God, this is scary. This hurts. I'm going to cry. I might cry myself to bed every night. This is going to challenge me, but I'm moving forward in faith. This was the hardest thing I've ever done in my ministry, y'all. One of the hardest things I've ever done is letting go. Letting go of where God told me to go. Letting go of what he told me he was going to do in that place. Because he did all of it. And I had to realize everything God told me he was going to do in that place, he did it. And I was still holding on to it. So today I want to share that with you guys. I don't know who that's for. I know it blessed a lot of women in the ministry. Make sure you sign up for my weekly devotionals down in the description box below. They bless so many women on a weekly. And that was sent in the email this week. It was just a word God told me to share, and I shared it. It blessed so many. So I'm like, let me jump on YouTube and share that mug as well, because I know it's for somebody. But the pain of change, don't run from it. Don't run when things are changing in your life. That's God trying to set you up for something greater. Okay. When you come to the end of moving forward in faith, you come to the end of what God is trying to do in your life. Okay. So I love you guys. I'll see you in my next video. Vlogmas Day 2 is out. See you tomorrow. Bye.